Welcome to Blackpool Unlimited, inspiring business success, as you can see on our screens there. And it's really exciting because we have got the team in from the Blackpool Net Zero Business Academy. And we're excited because this is a new initiative coming to Blackpool, and I think it's just going to do so much for your businesses and organisations. So we've got Megan Tucker and Caitlan Sanderson. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to find out what you've got to say today. And I know people are going to be really, really interested in what you've got to say, because net zero, absolute hot topic pardon the pun, but it's a hot topic at the moment. So Meg, first of all, I want to start with you. What is the Net Zero Business Academy?
Yeah. So firstly, thank you. Essentially, the Business Academy, the Business Net Zero Academy, in accordance with Blackpool Council, is an initiative that is helping local businesses decarbonise their businesses. And the way that we do that is looking at reducing emissions by reducing consumption, and looking for renewable energy and energy generation. It's a fully funded academy or service, which we guide them from start to finish on decarbonising their businesses.
Good, and we'll get into the process of that, because I think maybe for some businesses, I'm a business owner, the building we're in at the moment, we look at some of the things we've been doing. We've got LED lighting in, which is been actually a big game changer in terms of costs and stuff with the cost increases in electricity, etc. But there's certainly other things, and I know heat is just going out of windows, etc. So it's a massive thing in terms of cost, but I suppose it's quite can be maybe a bit of a daunting word, net zero. So we're going to try and demystify that, and you're going to literally educate me. That's the beauty of this, and hopefully everybody else. So I suppose, Meg, who's it for?
So it's for all local businesses within the Blackpool area, within a Blackpool postcode, paying their business rates to Blackpool Council. And essentially this is businesses who have been established for 12 months, who either own or lease properties, or who have physical assets that can be kind of audited and helped, really.
Fantastic. When you talk about leased or owned, can a landlord who leases a property, even though their business isn't in that property, can they maybe take advantage of this as a landlord for their buildings?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had businesses that have engaged with us who own estates and have kind of local businesses within their premises. So yeah, absolutely, we could help them as well.
Fantastic. That's really good news. Caitlan, coming on to you. Benefits. I've talked about little wins for us, but in your experience of net zero, I mean, there must be some huge benefits.
Yeah, so there are the obvious environmental benefits. Decarbonisation is a major factor in tackling climate change. But we're also seeing many more benefits for the businesses we see through the Net Zero Academy, the main one being energy reduction. You mentioned soaring energy prices. One of the things that we help with is reducing that energy usage and also saving them some money.
So, I know Meg was talking about being fully funded. There's always that, I know you say that, but down the line, is there going to be 10 grand, 20 grand going out? What does that mean, fully funding? Is there a catch somewhere, etc.?
So, yeah, there's no catch. It is completely fully funded. It's actually funded by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So businesses don't have to pay anything for the academy. They get free advice that's specifically tailored to their business. What's really interesting about this academy is that we also have funding for implementation support. So that can be helping businesses find grants or funding for any of the recommendations that we put in place.
Fantastic. So that's, I suppose, why a business in Blackpool would do it. It's free, plus helping not only your pocket, but the earth as well.
We're seeing loads of other reasons as well. One of the things is tender frameworks at the moment for businesses. Lots of companies are asking, especially small suppliers, but businesses as a whole, to report their carbon emissions as the standard now. Large buying companies have net zero targets and are looking for suppliers who share the same vision. And so in some cases, we'll only work with suppliers or companies who do share that vision. And also consumer attitudes are changing, and environmental impact is becoming much more of a hot topic, and also something that consumers are interested in when they're buying.
Now, Meg, I hear a lot about decarbonisation.
Yeah.
It's a long word. Go on, what is decarbonisation?
So the best way to describe it is kind of splitting it into what we call scopes. And there are 3 scopes that are involved with that. And I think best for kind of describing is your scope 1 is burnt. Your scope 2 is what you buy or purchased. And then 3 is everything else. So for scope 1, that is everything that is burnt or consumed, so kind of like natural gas supply. There is burning of fuel, kind of in fleet cars, and that's kind of like your scope 1 emissions. And then scope 2 is buying. So this is the purchasing of electricity, steam, heating and cooling. And then scope 3 is sort of everything else. So it's what you buy, it's everything that kind of supports the business operations. But yeah, it's a bigger scope. Scope 3, it has 15 categories, whereas scope 1 and 2 have smaller categories. But the scope 1 and 2 is what we think that the Academy will help businesses with most, because obviously with energy prices rising, the focus is kind of like reducing those emissions, and that kind of in play works with net zero in kind of reducing our emissions as a country.
Cool. So we found that out. You said there, net zero.
Yeah.
Go on. That's another buzzword at the moment, net zero, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we hear lots of politicians talk about net zero, but I suppose what actually is it?
Yeah, so it's the elimination of fossil fuels essentially, and basically in line with the Paris Agreement, which was agreed in 2015, all countries that were involved in that made a pledge to eliminate fossil fuel consumption by a certain date. 2050 is the kind of net zero end date, end goal, but there are goals along the way. So in 2030, scope 1 and 2 emissions need to be reduced by 50%, and this is what the UK have signed up for, and that's why they're really driving businesses to kind of get along with it and in play kind of play their part, but also providing assistance like the Academy does.
Yeah, fantastic. And help, that's what it's about, isn't it? Because like you say, when I saw this and you look at the sheets and you're like, there's a lot of long words, I'm just to say it as it is kind of guy, do you know what I mean? And can I be bothered with this? And how much paperwork is going to be involved? But let's get to these guys. These guys will demystify all that. Yeah, Caitlan, so if a business signs up with you guys, what I suppose is the process? What happens next?
So when a business signs up, we'll get in contact with them, and the first step is to do a site audit. That's where we'll go. We'll have a look around the building or buildings. We'll really get a feel of the operation, their business, what they want from net zero, what their goals are. From there, we'll then write a report up, and in that report, we'll calculate their carbon footprint, we'll make recommendations, and we'll really tailor it to the business themselves. From there, we'll then give the report. We don't just give it and then run away.
Right.
We stay and we help and give implementation support. So all the recommendations that we give, we have time there to help you find funding, to put it in place, and to really make it a reality.
Well, that's excellent. So really sort of hand-holding businesses and organisations through it. So what type of businesses can jump on this, Caitlan? Any
type. We've had 33 businesses so far across 16 sectors in Blackpool, and they're really varied. We've predominantly hospitality at the moment. We've had beauty, aviation, we've had music, entertainment, we've had pretty much everything, I think. But anyone can get involved.
Yeah, and like I say, I know hospitality is going to be huge for you guys because obviously we are in a seaside town with lots of wonderful hotels, bed and breakfasts and stuff like that. But like you say, it's not just for them; it's for lots of businesses. So do take advantage. Now, this is very new, but you've hit the ground running. You're already started with some. Tell us some examples that you've got.
Yeah, so one of the first businesses that kind of inquired was a theatre space, and essentially their main kind of challenges were they acquired the building from a previous occupant, and kind of the air handling system was not up to scratch, and I think was decommissioned soon after. So they were really struggling with kind of heating the premises because it was a big premises. So that was kind of like their challenges, their main challenges for the business. So we performed the audit, audited the whole site, and then provided our recommendations. And on average, we were able to realise reductions for them over 30% over. This is reduction in consumption, a 30% in energy savings and cost savings,
Wow.
And then providing a payback period once it's all calculated.
When you say payback period, do you mean potentially what you're going to outlay and put in place to how much you'll save?
Yeah.
Is that what that means? Right,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
exactly,
really
yeah.
good. What about you, Caitlan? What have you examples that you've seen?
So I've recently just audited a food shop. They had issues surrounding electricity and energy consumption because they had quite a lot of machinery. In fact, the machinery ran so hot they didn't have a heating system in place.
Right, wow.
So it was fairly straightforward for me. But the main thing was liaising with the energy supplier.
Right.
They were having lots of issues with their tariffs. They didn't know if they were on a renewable tariff or mixed fuel, and they felt like they were being overcharged.
Cool.
They felt like they were being overcharged significantly. So when I went in, I did a site audit, and part of that process is sitting down with them and explaining and giving the clients the confidence to then go to the suppliers and ask for what they actually want and to get it.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, it sounds really good. And thanks so much for explaining it. Because like I say, I know, net zero, it's a word we've heard a lot. A lot of people have read about it, seen it, heard it, but maybe have not really understood it fully. So thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about it. That's really helpful. But for businesses that are going free, excellent. We love free and I love free. How do we sign up then?
So at the moment we're taking applications on our Blackpool Unlimited website, and what that is it's filling out a form with the eligibility criteria, as I previously mentioned, and getting in touch that way, and that is kind of like where we're directing people.
Fantastic. So there you go, blackpoolunlimited.com. Come and find out all about Blackpool Net Zero Business Academy and what they can do for you. And Meg and Caitlan, you might see them at your business auditing you and helping you out. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
for having us.
Cheers. Thank you.